Okay, so let's go through a few more and the exercises here and kind of make sure we understand how we're solving after we factor. So this one is back to the easy. They've given it to us already factored, and so we just have to set each of those factors equal to 0 and solve. So we'll set 2x plus 5 equals 0 and x minus 7 equals 0. So subtract 5, 2x equals negative 5 divided by 2, and x equals a minus 5 halves. Here, we just add 7, so x equals 7. And again, they're not giving us any restrictions on this, and so both of those will be a solution. What about this one? Well, this one, it looks like we just have to factor by trial and error. And so when we do that, that's going to give us an m and m. One's plus, one's minus. So two factors of 30 that are gonna, when we subtract them, will give us 1. And so we have 1 and 30, no. 2 and 15, no. 3 and 5, no. 4 doesn't work. 5 and 6, yes. And so we want the larger one to be negative, so that would be the 6. Smaller one to be positive, so that would be 5. And now we have our two factors, because that's going to be m squared. Then minus 6 plus 5 is minus 1, minus 30. So m plus 5 equals 0, and m minus 6 equals 0. So if we take our 5 over, we get m equals a negative 5. If we take our 6 over, we get m equals 6. So again, two solutions, which is what we expect because we have our squared term here. Okay, and no restrictions, so both terms will work. All right, what about this one? Okay, well, let's factor this. We'll have a 2b, or not 2b, no, 2b and a b. And now we need factors of 2 here, and they're going to be the opposite. So we have to plug in maybe a 1 and a 2, and when we subtract them, we get a negative 3. So the larger is negative. So 2 times 2 is 4, minus 1 is 3, so that is one that does work, so we don't have to go any further. And the larger has to be negative, smaller is positive. And so now we set each of those factors equal to 0. And so here b equals 2. Well, here we subtract 1, and 2b equals negative 1. Divide by 2, b equals a negative 1 half. And so again, two factors, both work for this example, so we don't have to worry. All right, this one, we need to get 0 on the right side. So to get 0 over here, we have to add 2 to both sides. And so that gives us a squared minus 6a plus 8 equals 0. Now we need two factors of 8 that add to 6 because we're going to have an a minus and an a minus. Well, 2 and 4 give us 8, and 2 plus 4 are 6. And so that's going to be our two factors, a squared. We have minus 2a minus 4 is minus 6 plus 8. So we set each factor equal to 0. And we get a equals 2, and we get a equals 4. And again, all we're doing is we're adding 4 to both sides, and here add 2 to both sides to get our final value for our answer for a's. All right, so this is similar to the last one. We have to get rid of that 5 to get a 0 here, so we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. So that gives us 4n squared minus 13n. 8 minus 5 is plus 3 equals 0. All right, so now what we need to do is factors of 4 and 3. So let's try 2n and n, 1 and 3. Well, that's going to give us 6, and they're both going to be negative. So 6 and 1 is 7, so that doesn't work. So I'll just cross that out and say 1, 3, and 1. Well, that's going to be 2 and 3 is 5, so that doesn't work. Oh, that was a 2. That's probably why I'm not working here. We better try those again. Have to write all the numbers down to make it work. All right, so we had a 1 and a 3. So that's going to be 6, and then 2 is going to be 8. That doesn't work. 3 and 1. Well, guess what? They work the same way both ways, so it doesn't matter. It's going to be 6 and 1, or 6 and 2 is 8, so it doesn't work. So that means it must be our 2's are wrong. So we'll have 4n and n, And let's try our 1 and 3 again. So now we have 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Haha, now we found it. So it's a minus 1 minus 3. So that's 4n squared minus 12 minus 1 is minus 13 plus 3. All right, so this one is the way to go. 4n minus 1 equals 0, and n minus 3 equals 0. So here n is equal to 3, and here we're going to add 1 to both sides. 4n equals 1, divide by 4, n equals 1/4. And so that is going to be one solution, and that is going to be our other. What about this one? Well, here 7 is common to both of them, and n is common to both of them. So 7n we can pull out, and what's left over is n minus 4 equals 0. Well, guess what? Now we have two terms already. We have 7n and n minus 4. So we can say 7n equals 0, and then we have n minus 4 equals 0. Well, if we divide by 7, then n is equal to 0. Here, if we add 4 to both sides, we get n is equal to 4. So n equals 0 is a true solution because we set n over there, and 7 times what gives a 0? Well, times 0. So that's a solution, and then this one's also a solution. And if we plug it in, 0 squared is 0 times 7 is 0, minus 28 times 0 is 0, and so 0 minus 0 is 0. So that is a true solution, as is the 4. So don't be tricked because you pull out that n, because when you do that, that just gives you whatever it's over here, which is equal to 0. All right. What about this one? Again, it looks like we have to add 36 to both sides because we need that 0 on the right. So 9n squared, and then plus 39n plus 36 equals 0. Well, what can we do with that? Well, guess what? We can pull out a 3, I see. And that gives us 3n squared plus 13n plus 12 equals 0. So 3 times, now we have 3n and n. And so now we need factors of 12. So 3 and 4, let's try that. So that's going to be 12, 13, 14, 15. Nah, that's not going to work. So let's try 4 and 3. So now we have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Haha, that works. So we're going to have plus 4 plus 3. Now remember, when we divide by 3, it goes to 0. So all we have to worry about is that factor and that factor. So 3n plus 4 equals 0, and n plus 3 equals 0. Well, we subtract 4. 3n equals negative 4. Divide by 3. N equals negative 4 over 3. That's one solution. Here we just take 3 over and we get, not m, n equals negative 3. And so that's our second solution. Okay, so that was pretty easy as well. Now let's look at the next one. All right, so here what we have to do is we have to get that 6 to the other side. So we'll subtract 6. And we get x squared plus 10x. And then 30 minus 6 is 24. And that equals 0. So now we need two factors of 24 that add to 10. Well, 6 times 4 is 24, and 6 plus 4 is 10. So 6 and 4 looks to be our solutions. So when we take that, we say x plus 6 equals 0, and x plus 4 equals 0. Take the 6 over, we get x equals negative 6. Take the 4 over, we get x equals negative 4. Okay. And I think one last one here. So what we have is, let's subtract 3x here, subtract 3x here. So we get 24x squared, and then plus 8x minus 80 equals 0. All right, so I see an 8 in factor all of them. There's an 8 goes in here, here, and here. So that gives me 3x squared plus x minus 10 equals 0. So now I have 8 times 3x and x equals 0. Now the larger one's going to be positive. So factors of 10 that could work here. Well, I could have a 5 and a 2. So that's going to be 6 minus 5 is 1. So, oh, okay, well, that works. So I need the plus 2 and the minus 5. Okay. So divide by 8, we get 0. So now my factors are only those two. And so I have 3x minus 5 equals 0 and x plus 2 equals 0. So if I subtract 2 from both sides, I get a negative 2. Now if I add 5 to both sides, I get 3x equals 5. Divide by 3, and x equals 5/3. So again, two solutions, both answers will work, and what we'll see next time in the next section is applications of this solving equations by factoring, and one of them will work, one of them won't work, is usually the case.